I think we should actually get this party started. I do want you to know we're also streaming live on Instagram, and so thank you, all of you, for also stopping by today. Today we're going to tour Italy. We are going to have a really good time understanding the culture of Italy, the beverages of Italy, the cocktail scene of Italy, why certain things are done a certain way, whether we think they're strange or not. That's just how we do it. I'm sure you had a chance. Bobby, is that for me, actually? Is that one mine?
I thought it was for me. No, it's for Julio, but I'd be happy to make it.
Okay.
But I'd want you to demonstrate.
Yes, I do. So, okay, so then give me the ice pick. So, welcome and thank you. First and foremost, I want to congratulate the 3 founders of the Tag Spirit Awards. This is amazing. Right here, right now, this day, history is being made. It's incredible, and I want to really congratulate you for pulling this off in what is probably the toughest time to ever do it. And but we're here, and we're in great numbers, and this is really, really cool. So thank you for that. Thank you, Bobby G, for helping. Thank you, Liz Edwards, for helping. Thank you, Alex, Don, the videographer, Adam Carroll. I just want to thank everybody. I do want to thank these wonderful brands before I forget. We have Cinzano 1757 Vermouth. I brought a little bit of Italicus Rosolio di Bergamotto. We have Campari. We have Aperol. I snuck in some Strega from Campania, which is my region, and Averna. I should always probably be a smart career idea to thank my employer, Southern Glaciers, for letting me be here today and do this with you. So the first drink that we had when you walked in was the Aperol Spritz, also known as the Venetian Spritz. I'm going to talk a little bit more about it later as we get to the Veneto region, but for now I just want to show you how we do it in Italy. Most of the times there will not be a jigger, especially when there's sparkling ingredients. So for the 3 ounces of Prosecco, I just follow the rule of the pour spout. If this pour spout tells me that a 4 count is an ounce, then I'm going to pour like a pour spout and count to 12, right? So just very simple. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Right there. So you don't want to pour it upside down. You want to just go like that. And there is my 3 ounces of Prosecco. I want to sandwich my Aperol in bubbles. So some bubbles are pushing down, some bubbles are pushing up. That aroma is so important. And my illustrious barback, Bobby G, is doing the job. So here we have 2 ounces. 3, 2, 1. That is an 8 count from a pour spout. Thank you, BBYG1. And right here we have soda water. Now, a lot of people try to jigger the soda water. It's 1 ounce, but it's more a splash. That's it, just like that. The splash is an important part of Italian culture. Before it was soda, it was seltz. And the difference between soda and seltz is basically that soda has a few more things in it, including sodium carbonate. Seltz is just highly pressured water. Not sparkling water, high pressure water, meaning it's pushed out so fast that these bubbles come out. And what do these bubbles do? They increase the aroma of what you're tasting. So this Aperol is actually on steroids because the bubbles are kind of coming to your nose. So I will cheers. Oh, did I not put an orange? Right here. Italian bartenders. You can't trust them. You just cannot trust them. Right there, the orange always goes tucked in between there, just like that, just like we do with the Negroni. And yes, we can debate that, but not right now. Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh, so good, so refreshing. What is the culture behind the Spritz? In Italy, we have 2 happy hours. What in America is known as a 9 to 5, which in Las Vegas, we do not know what that means because we're a different city. But what in America is considered a 9 to 5, in Italy, it's 9 to 1, 4 to 7, or 9 to 1, 3 to 6. There's these different hours. So in the middle of the afternoon, you have 2 or 3 hours to go home, pet the dog, talk to your kids. Or if you live in a big city like Milano, you don't go home. You have to go somewhere to eat. And you really need something to cut the edge of the half work day from you. Now, a Negroni in this case would not allow you to go back to work. So culturally, the Spritz low ABV is exactly our little afternoon aperitivo. That bitterness, right? It's telling the stomach, to send, basically what's happening right now is our brain is telling our stomach to send saliva upstairs because it has detected bitter. What is bitter? It's poison, right? The minute we are born, our body is defending us. And right now, it thinks we just got poisoned. So it's telling the stomach to bring some saliva upstairs, and that saliva upstairs is making your mouth water. Make sense? Make sense, Instagram? Okay. And then also the acidic, the tartness from the Prosecco is also helping our mouthwater. So right now, we are ready for a small lunch, a little salad, something like that. Now, you go back to work, you do your thing, and then comes dinner time, you get off work at 7:30. Now you need a drink. Now it's time to talk crap about the boss, and it's time to socialize, and it's time to have a big meal. So in that case there, maybe the Spritz is not the best choice. And that's when we transition to the Negroni. So culturally, that's the difference between, that's the purpose of the Spritz. Now, I've tending bar in Italy for many years. I used to get a lot of Spritz orders in the evening too, but let's just say that's how it was. Yes, sir.
I have a question. Why is that drink sometimes called a pirlo?
Ah, what a question. We are actually making a pirlo today, and it's not, they are two different drinks. For those of you that are going to leave soon, because I know some of the room has to leave, a pirlo is made with white wine, and it's made with Campari. And it's a very similar template. It's white wine, flat, dry, local. Very important. If you live in Washington, what's your local wine? If you live in Beijing, what's your local wine? But it's always a local white wine. To that white wine, we will add a little bit of Campari as the 2 parts of Aperol instead, and then we add a little bit of soda, and that's called the Pirlo. Now, the Pirlo came from the Brescia region, and the reason why it's called Pirlo is because when you pour the Campari in the glass, do we have an open bottle of Campari? We don't. We do? Well, now we have 2. In the Brescian dialect, let's just make it for those that are leaving soon. I actually have the pre-poured white wine.
Another question.
Yes,
And then why do they sometimes put gin in there as well?
Nel Pirlo.
In the pirlo.
Okay, so they never do, but
In Salo, Lago de Garda,
They
make
do.
it with gin or without?
without gin. Good, and I'll answer that question in a second. So when the Campari goes in the Brescian dialect, pirla. That means it dives in, right? Now, a lot of people thought it was called Pirlo because of the soccer player, who is also from Brescia. But the name of the Pirlo came from the fact that it Pirla. Now, the Pirlo is said to predate the Spritz. I don't want any part of that fight. But in Brescia, they'll tell you, no, the Pirlo is before the Spritz. And of course, in Veneto, they'll tell you, no, the Spritz came first. I have no dog in that fight. All I can tell you is everything was invented in Naples. There we go. Okay. So now, what was the second question? I'm sorry.
Just the fact that sometimes it's...
Oh, gin. So here's an interesting story about gin. In Italy, we forgot we made gin for 300 years. Why is that? Because the history of alcoholic beverages was documented in 2 different ways, right? Alcohol was medicine. And so sometimes it was documented by the monks. The monks had access to paper. They had access to melting paper, they had access to rewriting paper, and they had archives to archive the papers that they wrote. And so they studied medicine, which in turn became what we drink here, especially from Italy, medicinal-based beverages. The other side of the spectrum was documented by doctors. Doctors were doing their own research. However, when the studio of the doctor closed because Dr. whatever passed away, none of that was ever archived. So for hundreds of years, we did not even know we made gin. As a matter of fact, in the early 1900s, the president of Federvini, he's the president of the brewers and distillers and winemakers of Italy, he wrote a note to all the liqueur makers saying, just so you guys know, in America, they're drinking all these products that we make with gin. So you guys need to start making gin. That's how much we forgot. But the reality is before all of this was happening, Rosolio, right, was always around. And Rosolio was made with many different ingredients of its own. If you came from my neck of the woods, it was made with lemon, Rosolio al limone. In Piedmont, it was made with the bergamot orange, et cetera, et cetera. Well, in the area of Florence, there was a juniper rosolio, rosolio di ginepro. And if you look at the old recipes from the archives of the 1400s, it's about as close as a Western style gin is today. So we were already making things like that, but we got to a point where we were making more money selling other stuff, so we kind of dodged the rosolio, and then there's a whole political story behind rosolio. But we were already making gin. So I think that is also why there is, besides the fact that there is an affinity between Italian liqueurs and gin in general, I mean, let's face it, right? Even the Cardinale, which is another classic Italian cocktail made with Bianco or dry vermouth, depending on whether you use the old recipe or the more modern version of it, is a gin-based cocktail. So there was documentation that we were already making our style of gin. So that's one of the reasons why. Any other questions before we move on? I love the questions. Keep them coming. It allows me to give you some direction. So Italy is a country with 20 regions. Today we are going to visit 5 regions. Okay, we're going to start with Piemonte, then we're going to go to Lombardia, then we're going to go to Veneto, then we're going to head down. We're going to make our way to la beautiful Campania, where I come from, and we're going to get all the way down to La Sicilia, where we're going to go to Sicily and drink some products from their island. Let's go ahead and talk about Piemonte. Now, Piemonte is 9,700 square feet. That's about the size of Nevada. 9,700 square miles. Miles, yeah. Sorry. So that's about the size of maybe half of Nevada. Let's call it that. What are the famous foods of Milano or of that area? La cotoletta, ossobuco. Really rich foods. Super, super rich foods that are very delicious. Of course, it's a very artsy region, and because it's so broad, you get a lot of variety. You get the high points of the hilltops all the way to small little villages. And of course, what are the gems of this region? Well, how about we start with 1860 when Gaspare Campari invented Campari. This is a beautiful bittersweet liqueur. I love to remind people, no, it's not an Amaro. Please do not call it an Amaro. Please do not put it in the same category. This is called a bitter. Does it still say it? It still does. And bitters are different than Amari. The line can be very similar, can be very thin, but there is a big difference. And the big difference is these are intended predominantly before the meal. They give you that bittersweet component to open your appetite. Amari give you more of that application to stimulate your digestion. They are different. They're completely different. The color's different, and so is most everything else. So that is your beautiful region of Piedmont. Any questions on that? Now, one other thing to remember is that we also have an area here where we invented vermouth, right? Sweet vermouth. And sweet vermouth is sweet vermouth is from Torino, and Torino is where the very first time the aperitivo hour was created, right? It was because people would go to Antonio Benedetto Carpano's little pharmacy, apothecary, and in there they would start drinking before going to a meal, before going to eat, and drinking was always related to stomach challenges or stomach opportunities. And as they would go there, what would happen is people would start showing up. And so it became a social hour to take your medicine. And so because of that, the art of the aperitivo, aperire, to open, to stimulate your appetite, was created there, which is a beautiful thing. Now, as we are going from Lombardia to Piemonte, I want you to take a look at these two things right here, these two ingredients right here. Or we're going from Piemonte to Lombardia, I should say. We have these two ingredients, Campari and vermouth, sweet vermouth. When you put them together in equal parts, we had this drink called the Mito Milano Torino. Milano Torino. Why? Because Campari from Milano, Torino from vermouth. And this, for the longest time, was the best drink to have before a meal. Now, it stemmed from a drink that came before it, which was called the Tomi, the Torino Milano. So the Torino Milano had an Amaro, which was called Amaro. I don't recall the name, but it's a famous one. Not a famous one. It's been discontinued, but the name is not uncommon. And the Torino Milano was made, but when the Milan people said, wait a second, why would you put Torino before Milano? It's Milano goes before Torino. So they, to the Tomi, created the Mito. And the Mito was the coolest drink for so many years, so many years. But once public lighting made its way to Italy and more tourism started arriving, right? The Americans started showing up and they liked their Americano a little bit lighter. Just the same way the Austro-Hungarians liked their Spritz, and we'll talk about that later, a little lighter. They just weren't ready for the tough, hair on the chest, Italian drinking rituals. And so what they did is they asked for their Americano, or for their Mito, to have a little bit of soda in it to soften it up. Whether the Italian bartenders started doing that, or whether the American public started asking that is as much for debate. But nonetheless, the Mito became the Americano with the splash of soda. And because Italy is a country where bartenders seem to like to speak very quickly, rather than saying un altro mito per l'americano, it was just like un altro americano, and the Americano was born. So let's go ahead and make it. If you take your front row, you will see that on your left of the front row, you have the Vermouth di Torino, and to the right of the front row, you have your Campari, and then in that little milk carafe, you have a little bit of soda. And if you will look at your little bowl, you have ice and a scoop. So go ahead and pick up your rocks glass right here and fill it with ice. Sorry, the scoop is going to take you a minute, so I'll just show you my full glass right now. Okay. Now, in your glass is already pre-poured. Oh, I have it too. So in your glass is already pre-poured 1 ounce, also known as 30 milliliters of Campari. Boom. Milano is in the house.
Wait, sorry, at the very top?
Yes, very
The top left, yes. Milano is in the house. Did I make it too difficult? Did I make this too difficult?
No, this is perfect. Oh, and
Okay.
pour it in?
Yep.
Pour this in.
Now you take another one. Yeah, doesn't
Them
matter.
on the first row.
Doesn't
Some
matter.
magic one's heavier than
I'm
the
just
other.
not
Layer it up.
not in this case here because we're gonna bubble it and stir it anyway. But I always say because it's called the Milano Torino, I put Milano first and Torino second one. It's up to you. There we go. Torino is in the house, just like that. Okay. So far, so good. And then, last but not least, where is the soda water for Livio? Livio? No. Oh, there it is. I'll open one up. Oh no.
We have one open.
Thank you. That's the one. And so now, the amount of soda is much debate. You can go as much as you want. It's afternoon, folks. I would make this a 4-ounce drink. I would put 2 ounces of soda. Again, how do I calculate 2 ounces? I just throw it in, but if you do a quick 8 count, you have it. Just like that.
Beautiful bubbly cue.
Yes, yes.
Armando told me only to do a splash.
No, yes, and that's not wrong either. It really is. When we used to make them in southern Italy, we made them as a highball. They were all the way up to the top. Now, let me take you to the most important tool of Italian cocktail. If you take this away from an Italian bartender, he's screwed, or she's screwed. Because in Italy, oh, you know what? I didn't garnish because Bobby G, you
I was heading out the door.
So go ahead and garnish, please. Add your orange slice. I do have some some toothpicks if you want to use that. Otherwise, you can use your fingers or your tongs will work as well. And go ahead and give this a little stir, just like that. Okay? Now, what's the importance of the spoon? Why is it that the Negroni, the Spritz, the Pirlo, all of them are just made with the spoon? You know? What's that? Unless you're Gaz. So why is the spoon important? The spoon is the most important vessel for Italian bartending because a barista in Italy, he makes or she makes cappuccinos, espressos, croissants, slices of pizza, all sorts of other beverage. They don't have time to complicate the drink, so they pour it right in. Go. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, salute everybody. Americano for you. Grazie, alla grande.
Delish.
Right?
Well, nice bitterness.
Nice bitter. Nice little bitterness. And again, that's why I say add the soda that makes you comfortable. Add the right amount of soda. So we talked about the importance of the bar spoon. The reason why Modern Mixologist and the TAG Awards company is giving you this bar spoon is because this really is not only your step one to bartending. After 20 plus years in the business, hold the calls. After 20 plus years, almost 30 in the business, I went from this was the first spoon you start with, going all around, going back to saying, this is the only spoon I want, this is the only tool I want to use. There's something about the bar spoon that just shows elegance and simplicity, and it shows that you're really trying to not make things too complicated when they don't need to. That's why I make a Negroni directly in a glass. I don't put it in a beaker. I don't put it in a blender. For Christ's sake, I don't sous vide it. I just put it in there, and that's it. Now, what is the other thing about the bar spoon? The bar spoon is body language. Whether you're entertaining at home or whether you're entertaining at your bar, you're offering hospitality. Too often you see that people will make the drink and they'll just pour the gin and the tonic, the rum and the Coke, the Campari and the soda, and because the bubbles, and they will not mix it because miraculously, the bubbles are going to mix the drink for you. It's like a miracle of God, miracle of Christ. And then they take that habit to their vodka and cranberry too, which doesn't have bubbles. It wouldn't have mixed anyway, but now how do you say that? But mixing with the spoon means something very good. It means I care. I care. And so if you don't think body language is 80% of how you serve people, then just consider me right now telling all of you, I'm so happy to be here with you today. You guys are a fun group. We should definitely do this again. What I'm saying is cool, but what I'm doing stinks because body language. So take your spoons home. There's a nice bag for you to put it and use them. Use them, use them, use them. The highballs, all those wonderful drinks need a bar spoon. Okay, anything else before I move on? Okay, let's go to a region. Let's go to the next region, which is Veneto. So, yes, it is. Yes, it is. So in Veneto, we are still in the very northern part of Italy, real at the top. In the 1800s or late 1700s, Veneto was part of the Austro-Hungarian domain, which means the Austrians were walking around the city all the time because Veneto was one of their colonies. And during this time, the Austrians were used to drinking beer. What's the alcohol content of beer? 4%, 5%. That's about it. When they started drinking the local wine of this region, it's 12, 15%. And they thought that it was a little bit too high. So what did they ask for? They asked for a little spray of water. So they wanted their wine, which I don't have, but they wanted their wine, and I'll take it. So they wanted basically their wine, right there, just like that, thank you, in order to lighten it up, to have a little spray of soda. And again, it was probably Seltz. Now, what is the term in German for a spray? It's Spritz. And hence the category Spritz was born. Throughout the years, there were many variations of the Spritz, and the most popular one, of course, came to us from a company in Padua called Aperol that said, hey, how about an Aperol Spritz? Okay? And that's how the Spritz was born. So you guys drank it ahead of time already, beforehand. So we've already had the Spritz. But go ahead and make your Pirlo, your Pirlo, which is your next drink. Please take your other rocks glass, fill it with ice. There should be another one next to you. Okay. So go ahead and put in your white wine like I did earlier. I already used it like I did earlier. Do it. Thank you. Just like that, okay?
That's the one with the one next to, right?
Correct.
Yeah, second row.
Correct. So you don't want to put the red stuff in, though. You just want to put this stuff right now, okay? You got your white wine? Now we're going to do the Pirlo part. The Pirlo is where the Campari jumps in. And we're going to, oh, no, that's not Campari. There it is. Thank you. And so we're going to take this product right here. Go ahead and just let it dunk right in. Just like so. Okay? And then the last one we're going to do is, once again, the elevator of all aperitivo, which is soda. Just a little soda, a little splash right there, just like that. And then the most important bar tool in Italian history, the bar spoon. Now you can garnish, or you could have garnished earlier, and that's where your lemon comes from. Why the lemon? Because the lemon differentiates the Pirlo from the orange. Simple rule. When you're waiting at a table, you need to know who's having another round of spritzes versus who's having another round of Pirlo, and the lemon will do the job. Okay.
Hey, it's a party.
All right, to that, cheers to all of you, to a great cocktail from Brescia, early 1800s, maybe predates the Spritz, and to all of you, salute.
That's really good.
Yeah, that's really good.
Now, the trick about the Pirlo, local wine. Local wine. You can't make it with whatever wine. It has to be local because you have to give them local.
So forgive my ignorance, local wine is what white wine varietal if I'm in America?
Whatever's closest to you.
Really? So it doesn't matter, Chardonnay, Sauvignon Blanc, Pinot Grigio?
So in essence, it wants a crisp white wine. So if you've got a Pinot Grigio or you've got a Sauvignon Blanc, if you have something non-oaked, that's your call, or that's your, should be your go-to, but it's really up to you. You will not get two Pirlos the same, even in Brescia. You will never, they're made, some of them are served in big wine goblets, some of them are served in a rocks glass, some of them, it's a thing. And a lot of times, you'll get the lemon peel. Why do you get the lemon peel? Because Italians don't want to throw anything away. So before juicing the lemon, you peel them, and that's your garnish. Okay? I'm getting good comments. Everybody likes it? Yeah. This one here is just Pinot Grigio do Fino. I went Italian.
You didn't want to get something from the Vermouth winery?
We're kind of lucky we got that one. All righty. Okay, how's everybody doing? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. But you would think we're done, but we're not, because we're about ready to go to the best region of Italy.
Napoli.
Campania. Campania, which Napoli is where Napoli is. And off the shore in these beautiful blue waters with these big caves and rocks where the water splashes on it. The water is the queen in the Amalfi Coast. There's these cute little islands called Ischia, Capri, Procida. That's where I grew up, in the middle of nowhere. Some of the maps don't even show it. Julio's been there. Bobby G's not here, but he's been there as well. And I hope soon to bring everybody there. It's rich in history. It's an incredible little place. Conquered by everybody. Everybody conquered Ischia because it had water. So like if water is a thing, it's kind of important. So let's go there. We get water. Beautiful little island. Now in the region of Campania, there's a beautiful city called Benevento. Now, before I talk about Benevento, I want to talk to you about Salerno. And you could almost walk from Salerno to Benevento, which is why I think this recipe here comes from what was called La Scuola di Salerno. In the 900s, 1000, all medicinal-based beverages all over the world were all coming from La Scuola di Salerno. Why was it? Because in Salerno, which was this university in Campania, was the only place where they had translated manuscripts from ancient Greece and from the Arab countries. And it was the only place where you can go in, and if you knew how to speak the language, you could read all the books that taught you medicine. Medicine, right? And so right around the corner is where Strega was made. And Strega comes from the I want to make sure I don't get it right, 1860, okay? Right when Campari was born. Now, something cool about Benevento, it's been written by many artists, poets, singers, that it is the headquarter of the witches. So all witches at night hang out in Benevento. And you'll read a lot about it. There's always a strega. So even they're here, there's a witch with her little broom. Their soccer team has a witch with a broom. And I'll tell you a real story about stregas in Italy. We had a strega in Ischia. Every city has a strega. And she happened to live right where I played soccer with my friends. It was no shoes, easy soccer, just beach soccer, but in a parking lot. And when our ball would end up in her house, nobody wanted to go get it. We were always scared. She was just very creepy, very quiet. When I was, I want to say 16, I grew up with a mole on my left pinky, and I had it since I was 16. One day my friend says, the strega will get rid of it for you. And I was like, I'm scared of that lady. She's the one that smashes our soccer balls. Hell no, I'll keep the mole. And he goes, no, she's a nice lady. She's a friend of my mom. So I walked in one day, and there she is. She looked like a strega, but she was a strega. And I walk in, and she had a big potato bag of beans. It was a white bean that looked almost like a small sausage. And she picked up one from the thing, she threw it out, she picked up another one, she rubbed it on my finger, never said a word to me, never said a word to anybody, rubbed it on my finger, right, mumbled, he literally like the Simpsons when they're on the phone, and then threw it out, and I was 16, so when you're 16 and you're a boy, you're interested in a few other things in life than whether that went away, and so you're distracted. All I know that at some point in time, between that day and a year later, it's gone. So there's something to this witchcraft thingy, right?
Obviously. Yes.
There.
Only call us to tarot next.
Okay, so I don't have my strega.
He's gone.
Oh, yeah, he is.
Take his stuff.
Yep.
He said he had to go to a tasting.
There we go. So this one here, the strega, is just a cocktail of its own, okay? So you'll get these nice little herbaceous, honey, menthol, eucalyptic flavors. If you want to add a splash of soda, because we already had 3 drinks and we're about ready to have a 4th one, you do that. Actually, we've already had 3 drinks and you're going to have a 5th one. So if you want to add a splash of soda, please do, but just put your nose in this bad boy for a second.
What's the ABV on this?
40, I want to say. Yeah, high, definitely high. Oh, yeah. So you smell how you smell that little bit, almost juniper, pine needle, a little bit of mint, eucalyptic, maybe a little bit of honey. Very nice, right? This is a cocktail. And all you want to do is take a little sip and think about your favorite witch.
So is this before, after, during? Is this like at the end of the evening digestif, or is it?
So this one here, just like Amari are. So Amari are digestivi through the process of mixology. If you just drink them by their own and by themselves, in my opinion, they are only digestivi. What does that mixology look like? Again, we're talking about Italian simple. A splash of soda in this eliminates just that little bit touch of syrupiness to bring it from being a digestif to an aperitif. And of course, America has taught Italy how great these actually work in cocktails. I mean, think about something along the lines of a mojito, right? A mojito with gin works well. This is not gin, but it does have that juniper note. And then the mojito has that mint, eucalyptic, so you have that going on in here. A great way. Julio Cabrera at La Trova in Miami, he does a Strega Mule. And I'm not a mule drinker. I just can't get over ginger beer. It doesn't float my boat. And so sometimes if I'll have a mule, I'll do equal parts of soda and ginger I'll make it almost a highball with a little ginger. But the Strega Mule at La Trova is incredible. So
I don't think that would be so sweet.
let's try.
Let's do dry ginger beer.
Yeah, the ginger beer, remember, it's got that pucker bite, to it. What else is there to say about this before I forget? It's piney. I just want to make sure I didn't miss anything.
The taste is so different than the nose, though, for me.
Yes,
Right?
yes.
The nose seems to be so much more ethereal and lighter, and it's actually quite weighty on the palate.
Absolutely true. Absolutely true. Now, these products probably got a lot more sweet throughout the years because remember in 1860, sugar was more expensive than honey, which is why this is sweetened with honey. Because it was cheaper, believe it or not. So, but they still use it. They claim that the recipe is still the same. I wouldn't be surprised at all. It's iconic.
It has that honey taste versus
It does
sugar.
have that honey taste. Can it be backed off a little bit with sugar? I don't think so. I think they literally keep it that way. But this is Strega for you. A splash of soda really gets the job done for all of you. Okay. Any questions? Am I missing anything? So far, so good?
Yeah.
Pace is good? Okay, we're going to move down to Sicilia, Sicily. And in Sicily, well, we're in a really cool place. 4.8 million people live here. It's about the same size as Lombardy was, which is about 9,200 square miles. Sicily was the first part of not just Italy, but Europe to get sugar because of its proximity to Africa. So Sicily's desserts are off the charts because they've started tooling around with sugar before we even knew where it was. Now understand the distance between Sicily and Campania, where I grew up, is an hour away. They kept it from us for years. Now we found sugar and honestly, Campania has really good pastries too, but Sicily is the king of pastries because again, they really know their sugar content. What is popular in Sicilia? Of course, cannoli, the arancini, which are those beautiful rice balls, a lot of eggplant-based dishes with tomatoes and capers. It's such a beautiful country, so many good things, but also Amari. Right? They have a Nero d'Avola, which is their local wine, which is a beautiful red wine. But Amari and bitter-based, herbal-based liqueurs are where it comes supreme. The two that come most to mind to me are Amaro dell'Etna, which is based right under the Etna Mountains. Also a little sweet, a little orangey. You'll always get a little orange in Sicilian Amari. Yes, sir.
Averna's from Caltanissetta.
Caltanissetta, yes, right next to Sicily, right in Sicily. But yes, Caltanissetta, absolutely. Nice little city. Good question there. And then we have Amaro Averna from Caltanissetta, as David was mentioning. And this here, for me, is the starting point of Amari. Okay, by that I don't mean you start and then you graduate to something else. What I mean is Amari really come in two different styles. I read the internet and sometimes I have to lock myself in a closet and cry because I read the internet and like, well, there's 17 types of Amari. There's the Carciofo Amaro, which is the one that has the artichoke in it. And then there's the Rabarbaro that has the rhubarb in it. Dude, there's 40, 50 ingredients in Amaro. How could you classify it by one of its ingredients? So this one has orange in it. So we're going to call this an orange Amaro. And the one that so there's really only two styles of Amari. One is called the pastry style, and it favors pastry style flavors. Candied orange, marzipan, cheesecake, things like that. The other one is called the medicinal style, and it tastes a lot more like a Campari would. It favors bitterness, and it puts on the back end those pastry notes. They all have it, but they're balanced differently, okay? Now, to get to an Amaro, if you start with something like Fernet Branca, or if you start with something like Braulio, you might never go back to Amaro again. Those are bitter, and they will chew your tongue off. But when you start with the pastry style, Montenegro, Averna, Nonino, right? These are all sweet, easy to drink. They'll slowly get you going, and then you'll get used to more bitter and you'll finally get there. So, Amaro Averna, I did pour a glass for everybody, except for myself, obviously.
You guys want one of them?
Oh, I did? We did pour it. Thank you. So this one right here, I want you to just go ahead and pick it up, give it a little swirl.
This
Right.
is the orange one.
This, yeah, it has orange in it, right? And so then go ahead and shove your,
Previously discussed. 50 plus ingredients.
yep, and go ahead and put your nose in it. Tell me what's going on. I like that. That's a tasting note. A lot.
Big.
There's a candied orange, there's a fig, there's maybe a raisin or a prune of some little sort.
Dry fruits, currants.
Rum raisin cake.
Rum raisin cake. Good call. Good call. Absolutely. Okay, now go ahead and just take a little sip. And swallow. Any lemon in there? Little lemon peel. The rind of the lemon. How about marzipan? Any almond in there?
Yes.
That candied orange, is it there? Yeah, right? Now, if you do have some soda, just add a splash. See what happens.
No way.
I get coffee. I get coffee.
There's coffee, yes. Good call. Coffee, tiramisu. I always say there's a cheesecake shoved inside of this bottle. But they didn't shove it all the way in. There's like a cheesecake that made its way down here, and it sort of infused some flavors, and then when I pour it, because I get that cheesecake flavor to it as well. Now, when you take a little bit of soda in it, it goes a little bit more lemon rindish on you, right? And so it becomes a little bit more aperitivo, a little bit easy. And that's why I say, before a meal, absolutely, through Mixology. A little splash of soda, and now it's become, I'm getting that same mouth-watering effect that I was getting when we were drinking our Spritz, but I did not get it when we drank it neat. So after dinner, we drink Averna neat. Before dinner, we drink Averna with a little splash of soda. Now, from a cocktail standpoint, Amari are awesome. Amari are awesome. And when you think about, they're very versatile, right? What could not benefit from this? What could not benefit from a little bit of orange, almond, citrus, a little touch of nuttiness, all of that? What could not? Not one drink on the planet. However, it is my belief, that in tiki cocktails that have all of that, right? When you're drinking, think about the king of tiki, the dean of tiki drinks is the Mai Tai. When you drink a Mai Tai, you're getting nuttiness from orgeat, you're getting sweetness from the simple, you're getting acid from that lime juice, you're getting orange notes from the orange curacao. You're getting a full package of a cocktail. That's what tiki means to me. And you're getting something that can be as boozy as an old-fashioned drinker would drink, but something as light and refreshing as a mojito drinker would drink, and you get that in tiki. And so I find that Amari and tiki are like buddies that never met. I think it should be called Tiki Italy.